there, welcome back. Thought I'd quickly share some recent pickups with you. I was looking recently for some 70s and 80s Hall of Fame rookies that I didn't have yet, one of which was Tim Raines. I definitely prefer his Don Russ card over the Topps, with the Topps being one of the multiplayer cards. I don't know, I just think this one's better looking. It's in decent enough shape for me, a little bit yellowed, but I'm okay with that. I think that was $5 and something cents, $5.80, something like that shipped. Not the steal of the century, but perfectly happy to pay that for a decent example. I've got two more to share with you. One of them is a happy, heartwarming story, and the other one, not so much. I don't know which you'd rather hear first, but we'll start with the dumpster fire. So one of the cards I've been keeping an eye peeled for is the 78 Topps Eddie Murray. And I happened to be cruising around eBay and found a seller with very little feedback. In fact, one feedback, but the account was fairly old, several years. And they had recently listed a bunch of, pretty low buck baseball cards. And it gave the appearance to me that they were trying to move a few items to get some feedback, to maybe start up something a little more serious. And among the cards was an Eddie Murray. In fact, I think that was far and away the most valuable card in their listings. And there was a picture of the front, but it was sort of cropped. And you always wonder if someone doing that is trying to hide some corner or edge issues. And there was no picture of the back. Their asking price was fairly low, but I decided to scoot in a real lowball offer, figuring maybe they'll go for it if they're just trying to build up their feedback. I made an offer such that I would be okay if maybe the edges or corners weren't quite as good as in the picture, and I knew it was a little off center from the picture. And I was also expecting maybe some not that great stuff on the back, gum stain or wax stain, maybe a print flaw or something. I wasn't going to be too picky about the back. So I was curious to see, what, if anything, showed up in the mail. And with eBay favoring buyers so heavily these days, I didn't feel like it was much of a risk. I put in a bid of $10 altogether, so $10 shipped basically, $9.98 or something like that. And the seller accepted the offer, and the card showed up, and I was pretty happy with it. It was decent. It was listed as being in acceptable, in air quotes, condition, and I call that perfectly acceptable. So I flip it over, and that's what we have. The tape, I would have been disappointed with the tape, but I wouldn't have been all that shocked. Just part of the gamble. That paper loss is just next level terrible. So between the tape and the paper loss, I decided that I didn't want the card. Even as like a filler example, I can't do that. So I sent the seller a message, not a rude one, certainly strongly worded anyways, and just said that I expected a refund and I'd be happy to send the card back, as it was basically worthless. And then I noticed that there's an option to open a return case on eBay items. So for the heck of it, after I sent the message, I opened a return case. And in the reason for return, I noticed that one of the options was item incomplete or missing parts. And I thought to myself, well, it's definitely missing parts. So I put that as the reason. And I got a message saying that the seller had, I think it was 3 days to respond. They give you a link you can click on to ask eBay for assistance if within a certain time you're unable to work something out with the seller, or if the seller just doesn't respond. Well, in my case, the seller never responded, So I clicked the magic link to have eBay intervene on the morning of the deadline date that they gave me. And within a few minutes, I had a notification that I was being issued a full refund. So I don't know if I'll make an attempt to try to get the worst of the tape off it or not. On the rear side of a card, it's just always a losing proposition, it seems like. One thing that crossed my mind is this might be a neat card to send away for through the mail autograph attempt. The other thing that crossed my mind is maybe I just give it to some kid who's into collecting older cards. I don't know. So jury's out on what I do with that guy. Now, the really great story, and this one goes back a little ways, probably a couple months anyways. I sent a I sent an email to Topps after I was shorted all of the inserts in a pack of it was either 2016 or 2017 cards that I bought some of those clearance fat packs from Walmart or Target or one of those places. And since they were older cards, I fully expected them to do absolutely nothing about it, but I figured it would be fun to reach out to them anyways, and I kind of told them some of my collecting story and how I'd been getting back into it with my boys lately, and that I had grown up collecting in the junk wax era and had fond memories of certain cards, etc., etc. And they sent me an email sometime later after I had long given up hope of hearing back from them, thanking me for reaching out to them, and that, as I expected, of course, they do not support older products, but they would like me to send them my mailing address so that they could send me a care package. And I thought, cool, I wonder what that means. So I sent them an email, said, thank you, here's my address. And then some more time elapsed, almost enough for me to forget that the whole thing ever happened. And this showed up in the mail. Say, was it 2015? 2016 5-star Rafael Palmeiro autograph. Now, that's not a big money card, but I have to wonder how much of this was coincidence and how much of this was some guy at Topps actually reading my story and being like, you know what, here's a card of a great player from the junk wax era. I bet this guy would really like it. And, well, if that's what they were thinking, then they were right, because I do. I think that's pretty awesome. So, I'm stoked to get that. So I dug through some of my junk wax piles that I've been, as I mentioned, slowly thinning out, selling, trading, giving away, and found that I had an 87 Donruss Palmeiro rookie. And now that I've got this slick autograph, I figured I'll put this rookie card next to it in the PC, and they can kind of go hand in hand. Because, you know, I love some junk wax stuff. And that kind of goes along nicely with the Canseco stuff that I have, which I will show you at some point. Palmeiro, Canseco, and McGwire were definitely three of the big names we were after when we were opening packs as kids. So anyways, thanks for joining me to chat about my recent pickups. I will let you know what I end up doing with this Eddie Murray card. I'm really leaning towards through the mail autographed attempt at this point. And I'll do some thinking about what the next video is going to be, what part of the collection maybe we'll talk about and run through next. See you next time.